because we actually did have I think called a best break in our fantasy league this week. If anybody has paid attention to the scores, you'll know what I'm talking about. But here are the updated standings. Here are the updated standings. Yeah. The best break, I think, no, it was Amir, I think it was your team that had a best break, is what they call it. A best break is when you have the second lowest score of the week, but you won because you faced the lowest score of the week. Yeah, that's called the best break. That's called the best break. That's called the best break. He's not here. 0-10. But yeah, this is the updated standings as of now. Wow. Let me go here real quick, just because I want to see how many regular season games do we have. Keep in mind, once fantasy is coming to a close, we are going to. Oh, that's the wrong league. Sorry, I'm in like 3 leagues. Yeah, that's a league that I've been in with my brother-in-law for about 14 years. In that league, not so great, but we'll see what happens. So hold on. Oh, regular season schedule. That's what I wanted. Full schedule. Ah! So there we go. Okay. So we have 3 regular season games left. We have 3 regular season games left. So that's my schedule. You can see that right there. But then the top 6 make the playoffs. The top 2 get a first round bye, and there are 3 weeks of playoffs. Keep in mind that after Thanksgiving break, when we come, well, if we come back, well, whatever. When we resume whatever classes happen after Thanksgiving break, we are going to deep dive some calculations with fantasy football, which is going to be nice. We're going to get into that. You guys have heard the rumors, right? About closing down? Just saying. Me too. Absolutely. They are just rumors up to this point. But a lot of the rumors that I've been hearing is that we'll shut down from like after Thanksgiving all the way to like near the end of January or some junk like that. I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of that from students, so I really don't know how reliable that is. It's like I heard from a person who heard from another person who works in the State Department. Again, it's just rumor until it actually happens. But you've seen the COVID numbers, right? The COVID numbers are like just as bad as what they were in April. So, yeah, we just had like a record, like 2 or 3 days in a row, we had like a record number of cases. Whatever. I know. Oh, Aiden's in the chat complaining about his team. He says, oh my gosh, my team sucks. Is my team last? Yes. Anyway, back to this. So I wanted to show you the rankings real quick. Boom. The calculation of the rankings. Scrolling over. There are the current rankings according to each category. Regular season rank, points for, points against, strength of schedule, and true win percentage. So, man, look, you're in first, but 11th in points against. I don't know. That sounds like a recipe for losing in the playoffs. I don't know. Definitely not the first round though. Yeah. Look at that. Look at that. I don't know. Sometimes your team just got to get hot at the right time. You know, that's all that matters. Oh yeah. I don't know.
Dude, we just lost last week.
Well, there you go. Oh goodness! Remember, you got 3 games left. You got 3 games left, and you just got to get top 6. So, sorry. Once I get to standings real quick, just to show you here again with the 3 games left. Let me see here. It's like, for example, this team's only 1 game behind. You know, and in 3 weeks you can gain 3 games or something like that. You know, any team that's 4 and 6 definitely still has a shot. If you're 3 and 7, you kind of have a shot, but it's much slimmer. It's much slimmer. If you're 0 and 10, I think you're done. Most points for, I believe it is Snowden Baker. Yeah. So, Yeah. I don't know. My true win percentage is getting better. Now, what's interesting, again, if you have had a weekly high score, it just so happens that if you've had a weekly high score, you're in playoff position right now. I don't know. You can see it right here. Boom. Anyway, that's that. Okay. Next. I want to show you something that I've been working on. So last week, we talked about passer rating and how passer rating is calculated. And like most things that I do, I went kind of on a deep dive when it comes to something like passer rating. So here is some of the information that I found that I want to talk about. Some of the things that I want to talk about. Now, first of all, you don't have to write this stuff down. I just want to talk about this and kind of show you where I went with it because I'm not nearly done. But I want you to see what I've done here. This is the calculation for passer rating. This is what we spent a good deal of time on last week. There is a certain minimum and maximum to each category. And then you can see right here, the passer rating is calculated by adding up all those letters, dividing by 6, and multiplying by 100. Now, when they first came up with the formula back in the 1970s, they intended it where the average quarterback would have a score of about 70. But what has happened today? What has happened today? Today, quarterback passer rating is heavily inflated. Passer rating, hold on. Wiki, here we go. All-time list. I want to show you the all-time list one more time. Passer rating, can they show me the all-time list? Well, there's one good calculation right there that, again, I want to show you. The average passer rating by year. Look at what happened. What has happened today is that passer rating is inflated. The passer rating formula is broken. The average should be somewhere around 70. But after the 1980s, this thing has climbed and climbed and climbed and climbed and climbed. To the point where all-time, there it is. All-time passer rating. Look at the top 10 list. And look how many out of the top 10 are currently active. Kirk Cousins. No, this is the all-time passer rating list. Can you see why it's wrong? You can see why it's wrong. You have Kirk Cousins, who has a better passer rating career than Peyton Manning. No, but that's the way the formula works out. Louis, that's how the formula works out. My contention is that the formula is wrong. My contention is that the formula is wrong. So I've done one of a few things. Now, if anybody knows me and what I do, I tend to go overboard when it comes to a lot of mathematical calculations. So what I ended up doing was I found certain minimums and maximums based on the passer rating formula. And I, again, went a little bit crazy, if you can clearly see here. And what I eventually came up with was this. I came up with a new way. It's going to focus in a moment. I came up with a new way to calculate these letters of A, B, C, and D based on the league average. Based on the league average. And you can see these formulas are written in red. The black ones I had to simplify. And I gotta say, these formulas are pretty darn accurate. These formulas are pretty darn accurate when it comes to actually calculating passer rating. Let me show you what I mean. Because again, I went a little bit overboard. You can see what I did right here. I got the only 32 quarterbacks who qualified for passer rating. In order to qualify for passer rating, there is a certain requirement to get down with it. You can see it right there. You have to have 14 attempts per team game. 14 attempts per team game. Now, technically, that equates to 224 attempts minimum because every team plays 16 games. So there were only 32 quarterbacks last year who had more than 224 attempts. And you can see number one is Tannehill. Is Tannenhill really that good?
He's all right. I think he's like all right.
All right, well, I'm hearing a yes. You think he's all right, and you think he's good, you know. But, like, compared to someone like Drew Brees, it all got quiet all of a sudden. Well, this year. I know. I'm talking about last year, you know. Now, right here, right there, the column that I highlighted, that is passer rating for the year. In fact, let me freeze the first column. Actually, can I freeze the first two columns? View, freeze, two columns. There we go. Good. Scroll over. You can see passer rating right there next to their name. There's the passer rating. ESPN has their own calculation, but I've done what I've done. Now check this out. Here's passer rating as it is today. Here's my adjusted passer rating. I did all the calculations. It's wonderful. I did an adjusted passer rating. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to look at the all-time list. I'm going to look at the all-time list, and I'm going to line up all the quarterbacks and their stats, and I'm going to figure out who actually is the number one of all time. It's going to be great. Tell me, what was the average supposed to be back in the 1970s? The average for quarterback rating? About 60 to 70, right? Check this out. If I highlight this column right here, boom. It's supposed to give me an average. Hold on. I'll do the average right here. Check it out. Equals average of this column right here. Right there. Boom. Look at my average right there. I pretty much nailed it. My contention is that I may have fixed quarterback rating. I've also gone a little bit farther. In terms of the calculations. I'm actually devising a new system. I'm devising a new system based on 0 to 100. 100 being the best and 0 being the worst. And according to my new system, I actually have Drew Brees as number one, but that's not ready for public viewing just yet. I'm gonna make a YouTube video on this. I'm very excited. I love it so much. Poor Lamar Jackson. He's not terrible. He's just back to, like, you know. Oh gosh, I throw a desk at your head. Yeah, he's not wrong. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. You know, they said the same thing about Peyton Manning until he won. That he couldn't win the playoffs. But then he won. He won 2 Super Bowls. Yeah. Oh, he won the Colts in 2007?
Yeah, against
the Bears. Yeah, then they lost to the Saints. Yes, then they lost to the Saints. So he's been to 4. Yeah, do you not know your football? Peyton Manning with the Colts beat the Bears. Then Peyton Manning with the Colts lost to the Saints. Or was he with the Broncos at that point? He was with the Colts. No, but then with the Broncos, he lost to the Seahawks. Anyway. Let's talk about one of my favorite players of all time. Mr. Pat McAfee. Now, this is going to lead into the lesson for today, but let's talk about Mr. Pat McAfee.
McAfee's laying a little dance on it himself. As good as there is in the league. Of course, one of their losses this year to San Diego, and it's dropped by McAfee. McAfee looking for some room to punt. He's able to get it away and does get the kick away. And he turns what would have been a little bit of a disaster in a punt that goes to the 12-yard line. Almost drops this one, had the big hit in the Denver game. He's getting a lot of attention here lately. Well, it's not the worst thing in the world. See the open and how he could possibly be a big storyline here today. McAfee in the fake. He's got room to run. He's got the first down. Boy, that was a called fake punt. That is a gutsy call. Backed up on your 20-yard line. That one who he hit. McAfee rolling out, looking to throw, and he does complete to the tight end. It is Eric Swope inside the 10-yard line for the first down to Pat McAfee, who's always got a few tricks up his sleeve. You know, you're the Colts. You're playing with a backup quarterback. You have to try and steal a possession. We knew it was going to happen. McAfee's laying a little dance on it himself. Helping to pave the way with protection. Holiday this time after that fumble on the road to atonement. He bangs him out of bounds.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Pat McAfee is going to be legend among kickers everywhere.
30-yard line by Brown. And Antonio Brown is going to get taken down by the punter McAfee. Marty will come out from a 4-yard line. Straight up the middle. And Marty almost broke it. McAfee, the kicker. And a strip on his way. Got a blow by the kicker, but could not McAfee. Making the tackle, but he is a big man to bring down. That's a pretty good effort there by Pat McAfee, the kicker. And we're back to Tues. It's Golden. When McAfee knocked down the guy who was trying to throw a block on him. That will change the attitude of both teams tremendously as they go in. McAfee will hit the hardest. Most linebackers playing the role of a linebacker right there. Lost the ball. Covered by the Colts. No, outside catch by McAfee recovers his own.
I have to show that again. Look how ballsy that is. Hold on.
No, outside catch by McAfee recovers his own kick.
He recovered his own kick. Sorry.
Nobody there, Jim.
Just like him.
There. And recovered the football. Look at this. McAfee like he's the only man on the field. And he got the Terry, and he's going to onside kick it, and it's going to come loose, and Indianapolis is going to wind up with the ball. And there's McAfee, who's so adept at doing those sorts of things. The player just one of 6 AFC players who have with at least 100 receptions since the beginning of last season. They tried an onside kick. How about that? And it's caught. They got it, and Leyland was the one to get it.
What is it, man? I don't know, but I think it'll be the last time we see it. The Bears, they get a good return off of whatever they're trying to accomplish.
Oh, he sends up a rocket. And with a great bounce, the outside the 5.
You're in a ball game and continue to talk about it.
Sacked 6 times a week ago, 5 times in this game, 3 of them by Willie Young. And here is a brilliant kick from McAfee. Low snap, fielded on a hop by Pat McAfee. Obviously, he is the best punter in the league, and there's another example of it. Fielded the snap and dropped it inside the 5-yard line. Kelvin, the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week, leads the NFL in punt return. But this one is really on a down at the 1. 49-yarder.
Try to do that here to Ted Ginn Jr. As good as it.
All right. Punting is one of the most underrated aspects of football. Punting can get you out of bad situations. You ever hear, like, I've heard people talk about, like, like not punting on 4th down, but like throwing on 3rd down, like really, really deep in order to do like a throwing punt. You guys heard about that? That's a whole other story. But punting is one of the most underrated aspects of football, and Pat McAfee is one of the best. It is a shame that his career kind of got stopped early just because of like nagging injuries and stuff like that. Do you know what Pat McAfee is doing right now? He's a podcaster. What else? You don't know what Pat McAfee's doing? He's what? He's an analyst. He's involved with professional wrestling. I'm not even kidding you. Look, like when you get the chance, look up Pat McAfee WWE. You will be like, what in the heck is Pat McAfee doing there? You know what his signature move is? A punt kick. It's amazing. Now, what do you need to do, or what needs to happen in order to have an effective punt? Accuracy? Like now, and when you say accuracy, what are you talking about exactly? Are you talking about accuracy like in what direction? Just straight? Up? Now you're talking about to the side. We'll talk about that for a minute. Definitely up. We'll talk about the up in a minute. But let me kind of talk a little bit about this. I'm going to draw a little image on the board right here. Here's the football field right here, right? Here's the football field. There's the end zone. There's the end zone. There's the people lining up. There's the punter, right? He punts the ball. Now, if he punts it straight, that's one thing, obviously. But if you're a punter, one aspect that you're actually aiming for are the corners. You want to pin them down. You want to pin the team down probably within the 10 yards closest to the goal line. But punting it straight may not be in your best interest. What actually might be better is if you punt it this way and you purposefully shank the ball. Because if you purposefully shank the ball, then there's no chance of it going in the end zone. If the ball goes in the end zone, where does the other team get the ball? 20-yard line. But if the ball goes out of bounds right at the 1-yard line, they're pinned. And that is a good punt. Punters are trying to hit the corners, yes. Punters are trying to kick it deep. Yes. You're talking about kicking it up in the air. Now, when you kick it high up in the air, you're doing something. When you kick that ball way, way high up in the air as a punter, high and deep, the guy who's going to be receiving the ball, what choices does he have if the ball's way up high for a long hang time? Fair catch or let it go. He only has those two options. That's what I'm saying. When you kick it really high, those are your two options. But if you kick kind of like a low and quick one, the guy has a chance to catch it, the guy has a chance to make some moves, and the guy has a chance to gain some yardage. Punting is a very underrated part of football. Special teams is probably one of my favorite things in all of football, special teams. I told you I own a couple of Ravens jerseys, but you know the jersey that I'm currently wearing all the time? Justin Tucker, special teams. Now, he's not the punter. Sam Cook is the punter. Who? Huh? I'm going to just wear a shirt and tie like I always do. You don't know me very well. It is Bow Tie Tuesday, which you guys are all privy to see. It's back. Yeah. I haven't seen any of you on a Tuesday. Yeah. Congratulations on being here for my bow tie. So, in order to talk about punting, we have to deep dive some of the mathematics behind it. We do. Now, not at this moment, not exactly at this moment, but in a little bit, if we have enough time for it, I may have you break out the Chromebooks because I need you to have the calculators. But for the time being, the calculators are not necessarily needed. Instead, what I need to give to you is this worksheet. Now, for those of you in the chat, I am going to be posting the PDF of this worksheet into the Google Stream in a few minutes. This is going to be weird. I don't know how we're going to pass these back. Hope we're going to have to try and pass these back. Oh, Sam McAfee. Or not Pat McAfee. I got Sam Cook and Pat McAfee on my mind now. I'm telling you, look up Pat McAfee of WWE. Hilarious. Yeah. Making a whole load reference? Yeah. All right, bring that over here. Video for today, post that. Chapoom. There we go. So for those of you in the live stream, I just posted the PDF. Okay. Let's see here. Click, click. There we go. Zoom back. All right. Now, oh no, it won't be the last time for everybody, trust me. When it comes to punting the ball, there are a lot of aspects that we are eventually going to talk about. We're not going to get through all of it today, but one of the aspects that we're going to talk, oh, goodness gracious. Here you go. One of the aspects that we're going to talk about, of course, is kicking velocity, the angle at which one kicks, and of course, the direction in which one kicks. Again, punters have a very underrated job, but they got to do their job right. This is my only connection to the NFL. But a guy that that's funny. A guy that I graduated with is the long snapper on the Cincinnati Bengals. He went to Southern, and you might have heard his name, Clark Harris. All right, that's fine. Yeah. Now, I was never friends with Clark. I know him, but I was never friends with him, so I can't claim that at all. But it's my only connection to the NFL right now. He's been the long snapper for the Bengals for over 10 years. He's actually one of the highest paid long snappers in the NFL right now. You know. Oh, really? That's a weird. Yeah. Yes, he was. I played football with him freshman year. That was the only time that he and I were on the same squad together. And I remember playing around. There was like a bunch of us. We were like messing around with the ball before practice or something like that. Like, I don't know what we were doing. We were trying to play soccer with the football. It was dumb. It was so dumb. So I took a swipe at the ball and I took him out from the leg. I know, it was really bad. He wasn't injured, but he was like on the ground for a little bit. I'm like, crap, I think I just hurt our best player. No, but he was fine. No, he's from what I hear, he's a nice guy. But long snapping, you have to be incredibly accurate. He actually, at the Pro Bowl, I think he broke the world record for the longest snap. It fell again. Let's talk about this. When a football is punted, it goes up into the air. It reaches a maximum altitude, and then it comes back down. Now, we have this basic equation to describe the ball. T being the number of seconds that has elapsed since the ball was punted, and H being the number of feet the ball is above the ground. Now, this equation does not take into account horizontal distance. This equation does not take into account how far the ball is punted. We're simply talking about hang time. Because again, the longer the hang time that you have on a punt, the more you're giving your team an opportunity to get down there and stop the guy from advancing the ball. Again, punting, football's like chess in that regard. People think of football like, my wife watches football, and she's just like, if I were the coach, I would tell them, hey, don't run into the middle of the pile, run around the pile. And I'm like, that's an interesting strategy. I know. But when it comes to punting, football is more about chess in this regard. Now, it says to find the coordinates of the vertex and tell what that represents in the real world. First, let me give you a formula, and I want you to write this down directly on this worksheet. You're going to keep this worksheet, and you're going to have these notes for yourself. First of all, you need to know the following calculation. Negative B over 2A. We need to find out what that represents in terms of the ball being punted. And we are going to get there. It's going to be amazing. Now, just for the sake of argument, I'm going to write this off to the side right here. And you can see that. AX squared plus BX plus C. This is going back to Algebra 2. Mainly Algebra 2. You probably learned some of this in Algebra 1. But whatever. Some more basic stuff. Now, yes, we can use our calculators to get this stuff done. And I'm going to show you how you can get this stuff done very easily. But the context of the situation is what's more important. The context of the situation. Question. If I haven't punted the ball yet, if I'm still holding the ball before I punt it, how many seconds have gone by? If I'm still holding the ball. I haven't punted it yet. How many seconds have gone by? None. Look at T up here. The number of seconds that have elapsed since the ball was punted. But if the ball has not been punted, 0 seconds, correct? Question. What happens when you plug in 0 in for these T's? But what do you get left over? You get a 4. You get a 4. What does that 4 represent? What is that 4 in real life? Ooh, no, it's not. No, it's not. I don't have a football on me. I wish I did have a football. Otherwise, I'd kick it up into the ceiling tile and break the lights. But like if you have like the punter or whatever, he's just going to go boom like that. Say again? Close. With punters, it's a little weird because with punters, if you've watched the motion of a punter, Let me actually bring up a quick video on the motion of a punter. Check this out. YouTube. Punting motion. There we go. There's a quick one.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatical.
Boom. No, here's the thing. You don't put all these numbers into your head when you like punt the ball, you throw the ball, or anything like that. You don't do any of that. I'm just saying that when it comes to the mechanics behind it, the punter has learned all of this by muscle memory. But in reality, if you want to be a better player, you are going to have to study the numbers. Oh, no. You're going to have to study the numbers behind what you do. You know, if you've ever watched a video, there's a video that I maybe we'll watch it next week on Drew Brees, which he talks about like angle velocity and the second that he lets go of the ball and the torque that he puts on the ball when he throws it. That's all the science behind it. Now, he knows that he's an elite quarterback and he knows that stuff. But eventually, you don't think about it when you play on the field because that's all muscle memory. But you got to put in the work beforehand. Watch this.
Ball, catch arm's length away, move it into position, forearms parallel to the ground. The ball should stay on that line the whole time. Good first step. We got a nice lean with our body. It's a good body angle. We spread our fingers softly. The ball gets released. When this foot comes down, it needs to be behind the end of the ball. So we're in good shape there. The ball position hasn't moved. Laces are still out, slightly turned in. We make contact right here. What can we say about that? A little lower than we'd like. We'd like to make contact a little bit higher, about knee height. Yeah, hold the ball a little longer. But now what do we do right here that's really good? We accelerate up through the ball and look at your upper body come back to balance. So your upper body comes back to balance, you accelerate up through the ball, and that's why the ball comes out nice and high, just like this. So it's coming out nice and high.
Go back. So I would say right about, come on, right about there, right there. I would say right about there is when the clock starts on the ball. Right about there is when the clock starts on the ball. See, the thing is, when you plug those zeros in, you get that 4. It's about 4 feet above the ground. Now, Matt, you were talking about before, like you don't think about all this stuff when you're on the field, right? Does anybody think about the science behind it when you're on the field playing the game? No, I don't know that many people that do. But the thing is, when you put in the practice, when you put in the work, you think about it then, so that when you get on the field, again, it's muscle memory. Ah, love it. Such a science behind it. Click. Boom. I never said that you had to watch a video and then you're done, you know. Anyway, let's put in some of these numbers. Now, first of all, if I'm putting in some of these numbers, I'm trying to determine what that vertex is. I talked about that initial, the initial height. We'll come back to that in a little bit, but let's talk about the vertex. This vertex calculation, if you're going to do this correctly, and again, we'll worry about how we're doing these calculations in the future. Right now, what you have to worry about is making sure that you're writing this stuff down. But in order to do the proper calculation here, that is approximately 1.25. What does 1.25 mean in terms of the guy punting the ball? 1.25 what? Seconds in this case, yes. We're talking about seconds here, absolutely. See, the thing is, we're trying to find the vertex. The vertex is how high that ball is going to go. The vertex is the highest point that that ball will reach. And again, as a punter, you need to have a high hang time. You need to have a high hang time because you don't want to give that the returner a chance to do it. You guys know the name Desmond Howard? Desmond Howard. Desmond Howard is kind of one of those guys that it's like he had One shining moment in the NFL. One shining moment. Desmond Howard was the return guy for the Green Bay Packers during Super Bowl 31. He was the kickoff return guy. He ended up being the game's MVP. Yeah, a return guy. But I'm just saying, you do not want to give them a chance. Hey, who was the return guy that was on the Bears for so many years? That's what I'm saying. Now, that's another Hall of Famer right there. You give him a chance, ooh, it's over, you know? Again, football's a chess game. That's what it is. It is a chess game. If I take that number, the 1.25 seconds, and I plug that thing back in for T, and again, I'm going to do this calculation for you since, again, Chromebooks and those dividers do not really mix that well. Negative 16, parentheses 1.25 squared, plus 40, parentheses 1.25, plus 4. It's just a matter of plugging that thing in. I get 29. 29 what? 29 what? Feet in this case, yes. 29 feet. Find the coordinates of the vertex and tell what that represents in the real world. In the real world, it means that approximately 1.25 seconds after the ball was punted, the ball reached its apex at 29 feet. It reached its apex at 29 feet. Of course, gravity and friction and all that wind has to be taken into account and all that stuff, but that's basically what it comes down to here. I once had a math teacher in middle school whose son was the punter for his college team in New Jersey. I don't really know what team it was, but she said that she went to every one of his games on Saturday and she would keep track of his statistics for him. And what she would keep track of in a notebook for every time he punted the ball, she would have a stopwatch and she would time how long the ball was in the air, and she would write that down, and she would measure how far the ball was actually punted and what direction it was, whether it was what angle to the left or angle to the right and things of that nature. She would keep track of this for him because when he went back to study, he needed that information to know where he needed to improve. Part B. Part B says to find the t-intercepts and tell what each represented in the real world. We're looking for whenever the height is equal to 0. Now, I'm going to write something down, and for a lot of you, it's going to bring back a PTSD moment. I can see it on many of your faces already. I know. It's so much fun. You ready? I'm ready. Write this down. Write down negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, the whole thing over 2a. This is what you need. This is just what you need. This is all that you need. Again, it looks daunting. It looks terrible. But this is what we need. This calculation will give you those x-intercepts. Hold on.
At this time, any senior vote students who want to place capping gown orders come down to the main lobby. That's senior vote students capping gown orders.
Are they going to be doing that all morning again? Remember yesterday? No, I know, but yesterday they were calling down seniors every 5 seconds. Okay. They tell us nothing. It's something called Barnegat Inspires. It's they want to do an awards ceremony, but they don't want to do it inside. That's why we don't have our parking lot? Correct. Yes. Full disclosure. Apparently they're for teachers. I don't know. Every year they're just hey, let's pick a random group of 15 teachers and let's give them an award that's tailored to that teacher. I'm okay, weird. I don't know. I've never been invited. This is where you feel bad for me. Oh, fine. Back to this. In order to do this calculation correctly, I'm going to break it up into two parts, really. Just two parts. First, I'm going to calculate this. I'm going to calculate the b squared minus 4ac. I'm going to calculate that separately. And I'm going to write it out as 40 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 4. Now, again, I'm trying to break this down as simply as possible. If you notice, for those of you who had me for Algebra 2, I'm not going into as much painstaking detail as I did back then. I'm trying to just keep it as simplified as possible. Just as simplified as possible. 40 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 4 gives you 1856. Here's what it comes down to. And I'm going to show you this on the calculator so you can kind of see both of them. And I'm going to show you a little trick as well. Not the trick where the thing talks, but I'm going to show you a trick where you can do stuff on this graphing calculator. It's kind of nice. You guys remember that? That was fun. It was fun. Okay. But that's what I do. But it's the only thing that gets me out of bed in the morning. No. Kidding me. I know it is. Check this out. Check this out. Check this out. Now I'm going to spring back my paper just a little bit. Look at this. 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 What I've done is something quite interesting. And I'm going to mark something on the board actually as well. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Kind of. You see what we did earlier up here with the negative b over 2a? Look at this. Look what's in the formula. It's the exact same calculation. Furthermore, that's what this calculation is right here. The negative 40 over negative 32, which is what we calculated here. It's the same thing. It's just adding that square root and subtracting that square root. You're going to have the calculator do all of this for you. I just want you to be aware of it. So let me bring up the calculator where we talk more about punting. You guys ever play, like, I don't know if they still have it in today's Madden, but in Madden, kind of. Like, they had, last time I played Madden was probably like 2012, right? Maybe it was earlier. The last time I played a Madden might have been earlier. The last time I played Madden, it was like there was a Pittsburgh Steeler and an Arizona Cardinal on the cover. Was it? I'm trusting you guys on that. That's the last time I had a Madden, okay? So, okay. You guys are like at each other's throats all of a sudden. Okay, but, so that's the last Madden I played. And when you played career mode, with like a player and you kind of worked up his stats in the off season, like you played like all these like little different events. Or when you were like a GM, you got to like play all these little different things and stuff. And one of them was like a punting game. Do anyone remember that? No? Oh man. I don't know. What was the gauntlet?
It was like levels, and you do certain challenges, and like every 10th level will be like a master challenge.
Okay, and you would like gain like points on your player.
Every rep you get a score.
Okay. Man, I don't know. See, if I haven't played it in like 10 years, I mean, I have Nintendo products, so that's probably why I haven't played Madden. I don't know. Do they have Madden for the Switch? All right, whatever. Madden's dead to me then. Anyway, back to this. Look at my calculator. Look what I'm typing in here. Now, I'm going to show you a nice trick in a moment. But the way that I'm typing this in, I have to be very precise with how I'm typing this in. Now, if you notice in the formula, there is a plus or minus. But I'm only dealing with the plus right now. I'm going to write that down in a moment. but I need to do the calculation with minus. Do any of you know, and this actually works for your calculators on your Chromebooks as well, do any of you know how to bring back that calculation without having to retype it all? That might work on your calculators, but it doesn't work on mine. Second enter. This is probably the biggest thing that a lot of people love about the calculator, and it works on your graphing calculators on your computer as well. Second enter brings it all back. Besides the talking feature, this is probably the coolest thing. Plus versus minus, hitting enter, there it is. Now, those are the two numbers that I'm going to write down. Those are the two numbers that I'm going to write down. I'm going to write down negative 0.096, and I'm going to write down 2.596. Zooming out, zooming out, zooming out. This is the answer that I need. This represents the number of seconds that go by before that ball hits the ground. Do you guys know what the longest field goal was in NFL history? 64 in NFL history. Did you know that the record for the longest time was 63 by a kicker on the Saints? I believe with the last name Dempsey. The guy had a defect. I don't know what it was, if it was caused to injury or if it was caused a defect by birth, but he had half a foot. He kicked with half a foot. And he had a specialized shoe. You know what I'm saying? Specialized shoe to kind of get that thing done. Hold on, I gotta look this up now. Saints kicker. I think his name was Rick Dempsey. Oh, Tom Dempsey. There he is. So hold on, let me look up Tom Dempsey foot. Images. Look at that. It didn't take me there. Come on. Yeah, there's a good picture of it. Look at it.
He looks like a cheerleader.
A little bit. But this guy, for like 40 years, yeah, for 40 years, this guy had the longest field goal of the NFL. Yeah. Oh, God. Look, it's insane to me. Look at that. Oh, there's a good one. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he is actually a little bit.
He's on demon time. Yo, he doesn't have a hand either.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
What? He's a demon, bro.
But
Oh my God.
I'm just saying, he's one of the greatest, like, kickers, like Tom Dempsey. Hold on, I gotta look him up now. Oh, he did?
He died. Yo, Did he really just die?
Oh, well, this is really bad timing. I didn't know that. I know we really shouldn't, but like. But anyway, you can see his career right there. Did he ever win anything? Pro Bowl, Saints Hall of Fame. That's about it. All right, back to this. I know.
You didn't even know that.
No, I didn't. Like, I know the name Tom Dempsey for other reasons. Anyway, let's graph this thing. Now, I'm going to graph this thing actually very simply, and I want you to do the same thing as well. Create this little XY plane we got going on here. Yeah. I was checking out the time real quick. We got time. So, here, fill this out real quick. Chapa. With Chapa. There we go. So, I'm going to create a little graph right here. And let's see. Now, on the y-axis, I am going to go 15, 30. In terms of the number of feet, I'm going to keep it very simple. 15 and 30. And then out here, I'm going to do this as 1 second. I'm going to do this as 2 seconds. Give me 1 second. And 3 seconds. There we go. That should be sufficient to kind of get this thing done. Yep. Oh, what do you? Oh, 11. You put it as 9:17. And I'm going to actually just graph a couple of basic points here. First, I'm going to plot this point right here. That's 4 feet. That's 4 feet. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. That's 4 feet right there. I am going to plot this point right here, which is 1.25, comma 29. And I am going to plot this point right here, which is 2.596 seconds. I'm literally only plotting 3 points. I am only plotting those 3 points. The vertex that we found, the point at which it hits the ground, and the height of the ball right when he lets it go at 4 feet above the ground. And this is the curve that you guys want to draw. Whee. Now, again, as I've always said, like, people have all these things that they want to say about football. A lot of people think that football is just like a barbaric sport, but football is very much chess. It very much is a chess game. It's not just on the punter. It's on his blockers. It's on the guys running downfield. It's the guy's ability to make a tackle. Unless you're Pat McAfee, you just tackle him yourself. Pat McAfee. Just saying, how good is that guy? Punting is a very underrated part of the game. The highest score, what? Oh, hold on, let's check it. Hold on. I know what the Wonderlic test is. Hold on, how do you spell that? Wonderlic test? Oh, wow, I spelled it right, didn't I? So hold on. Best ever. There is a punter, but it's not Pat McAfee. The highest and lowest test scores in combine history. The highest on the Wonderlic, it looks like Pat McAnally. It's not Pat McAfee though. No. I can see where the names are very familiar, and it is a punter, but it's not Pat McAfee. Ryan Fitzpatrick. My goodness, they're the lowest. Vince Young, Frank Gore. I'm trying to see, and then it was Morris Claiborne. I don't know who that is.
Is that from the combine?
Yes. Yeah, we should take like a practice now. We should. It would be interesting. Oh, Pat McAfee. Now, let's go here real quick. I want to talk very briefly about domain and range, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Let's talk very briefly about domain and range. The domain of this particular function is the following. And I want to talk about why that is. First of all, you can't have negative time here. You can't have negative time. You can't go below 0 seconds. You could calculate below 0 seconds, but the domain is going to start at 0. The top end of the domain for this particular equation is 2.596 because that is when the ball hits the ground. Now, when the ball hits the ground, it could do any number of things. When you're a punter, let me ask you a question. When you're a punter and the ball is hitting the ground, what do you want the ball to do? You want it to roll, you want it to bounce. Where? You want it to bounce high up in the air? The way you kicked it? It depends. 1 second.
Any seniors who are early out, only seniors who are early dismissal, who have an order to captain down, please come to the main lobby.
Come on. So, it depends on where you're on the field. Sometimes you want it to bounce forward. Sometimes you want it to have a little backspin on it. Sometimes you do want it to bounce straight up in the air. It really depends. You know, sometimes they really can't control that often. But the ball, let's just say when it hits the ground, we can't go anywhere beyond that. We're going to wrap up punting next time. And hopefully I'll have a more advanced formula for you. But guess what? I get to see you on Thursday. Excellent. No, it's not Tuesday, but we'll see that. Anyway, bell's going to ring in approximately like 10 seconds, so I'm going to sign off on the live stream and get my next class started. There goes another divider. Oh.